Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, how are you today? I hope you're doing good. Well, today we from the third group would like to present about text and readers. The definition, the explanation, and the example of text will be explained by me, Hafizatul Azizah, Sakina Salalita, and Alfitra Honinisa, while the readers will be explained by Putu Zahra, Alfi Rizki, and Muhammad Ifni. Moreover, the connection between text and readers would be explained by Ahmad Faizin, and finally, the conclusion would be summed by Shawki Rizaldi. But before, let's take a look at the mini overview of the previous material. Like what is written, that popular culture is any ideas or mindset produced by society with shared meanings of social system. And material culture is any ponderable objects produced by human which historically influence society and culture. How are they involved within the text and the readers? There it is, that will lead us to today's material. Okay, what's on your mind when you heard the word text? Is it a book, an article, or maybe a novel and a poem? Actually, in cultural studies, text doesn't mean biliteral. However, text can be defined as cultural artifacts. It means that every behavior, event, and object that uncover or reveal cultural meanings can be mentioned as text. From that, we can connect it with the previous materials that popular and material culture's product can be mentioned as a text. Conceptually, cultural studies originates in the idea of textuality, that is, in the idea that our world is full of text, or things that we humans have created, and that we can interpret those cultural texts in the same way that we interpret literary texts more traditionally understood. What I say here is, if a literary text is the product of an individual author, a cultural text is the product of an entire society, or at least a subculture within a society.
Now, for the second part, I will explain about text and culture. You may be wondering how can text engage in culture? So, there are 3 points that we need to remember. First, cultural studies itself deal with society, so it cannot be separated from people, and what things that people do, wear, or produce, as all of these things can reflect the culture. Second, this is actually related to the definition and the concept of the cultural text itself. Text in culture is broader, not only about letters, words, sentences, paragraphs, and so on, but also what people do, wear, and produce. So when something that's included as a text reveals the cultural meaning and communicates cultural ideas that can be interpreted or analyzed, this kind of text is, of course, involved as part of the culture. But as what? Move to the third point. We can find that according to Johnson 2008, pertaining to the above mentioned points, text is a means in cultural studies. To construct a better understanding of this, let us provide some examples of text that will be delivered next by Alfitra.
As it has been explained before about the description and definition of text, now we are going to the materials of the example of text itself. So the next material is what kind of text that involved in culture. There are 3 points that I have summarized about the sample of the previous explanation about the definition of text itself. The first one, cultural objects are those objects, action, and behaviors that reveal cultural meanings. For example, a photo is an image, but it may also carry a cultural text. Therefore, food and clothing also suggest cultural information as we could analyze into it. So maybe if we take a look on the book, on the chair, on a table, it's just a thing, it's just an object. But if we analyze it deeper, we will got a relevant cultural text and cultural meanings in it. The second one, the second kind of text that involved in culture is the entire place and space in the universe. All of the things, every single thing in this universe may contain a cultural text. whether they really recognize it or not. Sometimes we do not recognize that a book may contain a relevant cultural meanings, but we just do not recognize it. The third one, all of the people interaction and all of the rituals and rules in various forms which they manifest themselves. So there may be three points of the example of text: object, and then actions and behavior. Means that all of the people interaction, our interaction, human and human, its kind of action and behavior, it may contains cultural meanings in it. Furthermore, this kind of initial explanation of a cultural text may make it seem as though everything is a cultural text, but, however, it may be correct in the first place, but it's not actually always mean that every single thing have particular cultural reference. Because, however, sometimes a book is just a square-shaped things, and a picture will be just a picture, and a table is just a table, and then so on. But it may contain a cultural reference if we conduct a research in it. So what makes it different is the transferred meaning that connect the text to the people who create and or use the text. Cultural meanings inside a text may not be recognized by every single person, but if we conduct a research or analyzing, we may find some cultural meanings be inside a text.
After understanding the definition, explanation, and examples of the text, let's talk further about reader. What is reader? Is it us or everyone who reads the text? Based on Oxford Dictionary, reader is a person who reads, especially one who reads a lot or in a particular way. As it already explained that the text is not only in form of written, so reader here is not only read a written text. Besides, based on the term, as we can see on the book titled Language and Power page 171 until 174, readers have a big role because they represent public member by giving their contribution as the second opinion in the text. They are not only telling their opinion, but also being the author partner in describing the text. Reader is also responsible for bringing all the assumption into the process of interpretation. So, reader side is important as it reflects the text and interpret it by including their experiences. They give their contribution by reading the text and assuming the content.
Okay, the next material is reader and culture. That's talk about on how readers plays its role in cultural studies. So as we see that as cultural text refers to cultural artifacts such as behavior, event, and object that uncover cultural meanings, readers take a role to interpret the messages. So then readers as subject of culture provide a justifying of culture product. So to know that the reader is not just someone to whom the author telling this or telling the text, but also as a partner in collaborative venture. This is why sometimes author doesn't use the pronoun I but we to refer himself or herself with and the readers. Here, in justifying of cultural product or to interpret the messages, so then readers also see some points below. First is about position, in which as a subject, readers should be able to place himself in the position in which it would not give a opposing opinion but as the second opinion of the author. So for the example is when the text is talking about the feminism However, the reader is man, but he can place himself in the position in which he 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 has he has an opinion as a female who is in the text, so that he would think he would support by his second opinion as, and will not give the opposing of the opinion given in the text by the author. And the next is about make sense to the text, means that uh, it the assumption of the reader, so also telling, so also has the same aims with what the author's aims. So this so that why uh, readers who has big role to brings the assumption in order to get the exact interpretation about the message interpreted in the text. So readers so also make sense with the author aims.
What kind of reader that involved in culture? First, prior knowledge of the reader. Prior knowledge and cultural background greatly influence comprehension process. Individuals may comprehend information better when they are culturally familiar with the information, that is, when they have the appropriate cultural schemata. The second, reader is presented the culture itself. For example, readers usually have their own culture even before they read some text. It means that the reader also has a symbol of their culture. After read some text, the reader should have more value with the culture for himself and the culture that they read in the book or in the text. The third, they should understand the text. The reader should understand the context of book or the text or any literary criticism or any novels or like the old book.
Okay, thanks Ricky. Now here I will present the interplay process between text and readers. For starter, I would like you to know when we talk about this, about how text and readers influence each other, I want you to focus on the fact that the main activity between them is the production of meanings. But how it is produced? Then basically to know what the meaning of a text is simply by examine or analyze it, but it might be different if it is applied to cultural text. The particular premise is to render process subvert and enjoy it open to explicit analysis. Although it is not a problem because according to sociology and mass media professor in Mumbai University, the analysis of cultural text is defined as popular identification of cultural meanings by signifying practices of hegemony text. Wait. Now we talk again about hegemony. To keep you in focus, let me explain first about hegemony. As we already discussed in the past 2 weeks about the popular culture, hegemony refers to his theory about how popular cultural product is created. He said that it was the ideology that is accepted in several cultures, which then becomes the universal ideology. What I mean here is this ideology is the product of humans' activity in the process of signifying practices of hegemonic text itself. To be more simple, since the meaning of text culturally is defined as object, action, and behavior that reveal cultural meanings, and reader here then connect their subjectivity and the objectivity of the text in order to produce meaning of a cultural product. Thus, it can be concluded that interplay process between text and reader, as I have said before, is about the production of meanings, primarily cultural meanings.
Okay, so we have come to the end of our presentation. But before doing the closing, let me summarize all of the explanations earlier. The first one, text is every behavior, event, and object that reveal cultural meanings and is the product of society. Text and culture are interconnected to some extent. Cultural studies have to do with society. Cultural text is not only about written words, and cultural text is a medium in cultural studies. Texts made in culture are things, actions, behaviors, space, place, interactions, rules, and rituals that represent cultural meanings. Reader is society who give a second opinion with regard to texts. Readers take part in culture by examining their position and how they make a sense to the text. Readers intended in culture are determined by some points: the cultural background, the understanding about the text, and the notion that the readers are the culture itself. Text and readers influence each other through the production of meanings. And here they are, the references that our materials refer to. And yeah, that's all. Thanks a lot for watching. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.